author Made in China, A Prisoner, an SOS Letter, and the Hidden Cost of America's Cheap Goods. In early 2019, right before the pandemic, I traveled to China to do reporting, and one of the places I stopped at was Zhujiajiao, Shanghai. It's this really beautiful tourist site. It's an ancient water town known as the Venice of China. There's these wooden boats that carry tourists across lush green water. There's bustling tea houses and coffee shops and delicious street food stalls everywhere. But just a 10-minute drive away from this picturesque tourist destination, there were forced labor compounds where political prisoners manufacture cheap products for global consumers like you and I. And that's what the travel guidebooks don't say. And it was the real reason why I was in Shanghai, to document these labor camps and their connections to our multinational corporations. In recent years, most of you have probably heard about China's terrifying labor camps for the Uyghur ethnic minorities in Xinjiang. But what most people may not know is that these camps are not really a new phenomenon in some sense. They are the worsening and the expansion of a massive forced labor system that has existed for decades, going as far back as the 1930s. Beyond the modern re-education camps for Uyghurs in Xinjiang, there are countless other kinds of forced labor factories with innocent names such as pre-trial detention center and drug detox center. But a lot of the people imprisoned in these facilities are often political prisoners, like pro-democracy activists, ethnic minorities, and religious dissidents. They are not violent criminals, but people who the government wants to silence or hide from society. They are held there indefinitely without trial and often without access to lawyers. They usually work 15 to 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, for little or no payment. I visited a so-called drug detox center a few miles away from that beautiful ancient water town. And it didn't look like a drug detox center at all. There was barbed wires, there were surveillance cameras, there were armed guards. It didn't seem like a facility that offered mental health services or customized treatment plans for addiction. This was a labor camp where detainees spent their time doing manufacturing work. The employees there even told me that themselves. I came across two employees on their way to work and struck up a conversation with them, posing as a buyer from Canada who wanted to source products from them. And both employees kept referring to the detox center as a prison during our conversation. And they were oddly professional. I could tell it was clearly not their first time speaking to someone from a foreign company who wanted to source products from them. They offered to give me a tour and take me around. And, it was a really, really productive facility. I watched freight trucks come and go every 2 hours or so to pick up shipment and drop off raw materials. I ended up covertly following a lot of their trucks to a number of exporters, including an apple factory and a manufacturer that makes school supplies. According to custom records, these facilities manufacture merchandise for companies in the United States, and many of their products are sold on retailers like Amazon and Target. So how are these companies selling these products to us? Corporations will often use vague marketing buzzwords like fair trade certified factory or sustainably sourced or ethically made to make us feel good about buying stuff we don't necessarily need. But what do labels like that really mean? Well, here's what these labels don't say. those labels don't say it's the unrealized potential of political dissidents and ethnic minorities in China that make it possible for us to pay low prices a lot of the times. So, who or what is to blame ultimately for this? Is it corporate greed? Is it the depravity of an authoritarian government? It would be too simplistic to say the problem stems from these two sources alone. As consumers who buy these products, there is blood on our hands too. In our ceaseless search for the cheapest and most current trends, we are rewarding the companies that offer us the lowest prices. During my reporting, I found out it was actually a lot of the times it was our shopping habits that were pushing factories to outsource work to labor camps. Our spending habits are putting brands on an unending search for the cheapest way to shorten the time between design, manufacturing, and distribution even further. The CEO of Fashion Nova was famously quoted as saying he could turn something from a design into actual clothing in less than 24 hours. We've reached a stage where it is virtually impossible for most Chinese suppliers to meet the bargain prices we want and the ethical labor conditions we say we care about. So, Chinese supply chain auditors have told me that if the companies we support are paying too low of a price for their orders, then factory owners have no choice but to subcontract work to places like labor camps, where forced laborers manufacture products for free. And when the companies we support have to make sudden production changes to stay on top of the latest fast fashion trends, factories often don't have time to make that change in-house. They must subcontract work to people like forced laborers who can work all night to meet production deadlines. So knowing this, where does this leave us? The next time you read the label, sustainably made, know what it doesn't say. That doesn't say what prices the company actually paid for this manufacturer to make these products. It also doesn't say if these prices can realistically meet these workers' wages. But as socially conscious consumers, we have a say in knowing how our products are made. If we stop rewarding companies for constantly offering the new products, then we can remove a major incentive that causes Chinese suppliers to outsource work to places like labor camps. And if we stop rewarding companies for offering unsustainably low prices, then we can remove another factor that tends to push Chinese suppliers to use forced laborers in the first place. So the more we are aware of the underlying causes behind these kinds of labor abuses on the other side of the world, and the more that we can support local ethical companies, then the more that we can influence change in our communities, our neighborhoods, and also globally. Made in China will be published by Algonquin Books on February 2nd. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Stay healthy and safe.